number one regret that I have from school: experience trumps grades and connections trump experience. It's probably gonna suck. Learning does not stop when you graduate. Let go of the idea that it has to look a certain way. Hi friends, I got my blazer on today because we are talking about post-grad job hunting tips. So just a tiny bit of background about me. I graduated about 3.5 years ago from Olivet Nazarene University with a degree in environmental science. I got some jobs in that field and decided to pivot to personal training, but then I pivoted towards YouTube, so this is where I am now. But before, I was working in the environmental industry, which is what I went to school for, and I am here to give you guys the tips on how to get a job after you graduate. Let's get into it. The first 2 tips are going to be things that you can do while you are in school. So if you have already graduated, go ahead and skip to this time code, or I'll also have it linked down below because this isn't really relevant to you if you already graduated. But if you are in college, the number one tip and the number one regret that I have from school is focusing way too much on grades. Yes, grades matter, but honestly, unless you're going to grad school, they don't really matter a whole hell of a lot. It doesn't really matter once you get out into the workforce whether or not you have a 3.0 or a 4.0. It just doesn't matter. What does matter is the connections that you make in college, especially the connections that you make with your professors. The professors at your university are people that have been in the field, that have connections in the field, that know the field that you are going into. So it is absolutely vital that you build a real, authentic relationship with those people. Because honestly, at the end of the day, a professor is gonna give a better recommendation to the student that showed up in his office and asked questions and maybe struggled a little bit, but was still there and building a real relationship with them, over the student that got perfect grades and never spoke to them. Believe me, I was the student that got really good grades but never talked to my professors. And I know for a fact that some of my peers in college got better job recommendations from professors, got better letters of reference from professors, just because they actually were face to face with their professors. So if you can take one thing away from this video, if you have not graduated college yet and you are already not utilizing your professors, go and utilize your professors, please, please. And the same goes for your peers as well, because honestly, you never know where one of your peers is gonna end up. Maybe there's someone in a class that's above you and they go off and they graduate and get a really good job somewhere, and maybe they're gonna be the person hiring you at some point. So build those connections. Connections is so important, so much more important than grades. Don't be like me. Don't just lock yourself away and study all the time. That doesn't help. College is about connections, it's not about the grades. My second tip, if you are in college, is to get as much experience in your field as humanly possible. Do not waste your summers. Go and get a summer internship your freshman year, right after your first year of college. Go and get that summer internship doing something related to your field. This is gonna do 2 things. It's gonna give you experience, which is gonna prove whether or not you actually like it, and it's gonna build connections. It is so vitally important to get that experience because you can put that on your resume and you can build the connections with people in your industry. I unfortunately did not do this until the summer after I graduated, and that internship got me my first job out of college. Experience trumps grades and connections trump experience. But you gotta have experience and you gotta have connections. So make sure that you are applying for those summer internships. Yes, it's okay to relax a little bit and have some fun in the summertime, but if you can, make sure that you're getting those summer internships. Also, don't underestimate the power of getting a campus job. That will continue to connect you, and maybe there's some things that are related to your major. If you're a science major like I was, there's all kinds of biology TA positions, lab technician positions. If you're in advertising. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do to advertise for your school. You can be a part of campus outreach and that kind of thing, trying to get new students to come to the school. There's all kinds of opportunities for every single major out there to get involved on their campus and maybe make a little bit of extra money too, which is really cool. So make sure that you are connecting with people and make sure that you are getting experience on your resume before you graduate. Okay, so all of you people that have now graduated college or are looking to graduate college here soon, you're probably freaking out a little bit if you're watching this video because you don't know how to get a job and you're panicking. I was there. After I graduated, it was honestly one of the most depressive times of my life because I didn't know what I was doing. I moved back in with my parents, which obviously I'm super thankful I was able to move back in with my parents and that they were able to kind of help me financially while I was looking for a job. But it can be so stressful when you don't know what the rest of your life looks like, because all the way up until then you've been in school, you've known what life looked like, and there was kind of a path laid out in front of you. And then when you graduate, unless you go to grad school, you really don't know what the hell you're doing. My very first tip is volunteer, okay? If you have the opportunity, if you have even just a few hours a week, try to find volunteer opportunities. My first 2 jobs out of college, I actually got through volunteering. So I was able to volunteer with the Soil and Water Conservation District, which is an environmental government agency, where I ended up at one of the volunteer events meeting my first boss, who then hired me, and then I also got a job with the SWCD after that because I had made those connections through volunteering. Now, sometimes it can actually be really hard to find volunteer opportunities because when I first graduated, I looked for them, but if you just do like a quick Google search online, you're probably not gonna find anything. So here's some tips for how you can get those volunteer opportunities. Check with local government agencies. The government relies on volunteers a lot of the time because sometimes they don't have the best funding, so sometimes they look for volunteers to be able to fill those gaps. I know if you're in sciences, there's all kind of volunteer opportunities, especially associated with education. And even if you're not interested in education, it can still be a good way to build those connections. And even if you don't end up volunteering with a government organization, a lot of times they are connected to other organizations that are non-for-profits and that kind of thing. So check with government agencies. Another good option is schools, whether that be universities, elementary schools, high schools. A lot of those things will have connections to different volunteer opportunities and nonprofits. And then also just look online for different nonprofits and also be super vocal with the people around you. This can be good for getting those volunteer experiences as well as actually finding a job. Literally every single person that you talk to, tell them, I am newly graduated from college and I'm looking for a job in this field. Do you know anyone? Keep me in mind if you talk to anyone at all. Spread the word around that I am looking for a job in this field. That is how I ended up getting my first volunteer experience, which then led to 2 different jobs eventually, was just by talking to people in the community and having those feelers out there for when someone was, you know, gonna show up and hand me that volunteer experience. And then also I want to remind you guys that your first job out of college is probably not gonna be your dream job. Like, it's probably gonna suck, but that's okay because you're gonna continue moving up the ladder. You're gonna go and experience other things. Maybe you're gonna completely pivot to a whole new career. My first job out of college was I worked at a tree farm and it was a lot of manual labor. I drove a skid steer around moving dirt for months. Honestly, I really liked that job. I really enjoy like creating things and doing things with my hands, but that's a whole other rant. But yeah, it's probably not going to be the best thing. It might be dirty, it might be gross, it might be not well paid, but if you can get it, take it and go from there. You never know where that job is going to lead you or where that experience is going to take you. And then also make sure that you are continuing to learn, because learning does not stop when you graduate. You're going to want to continue to be adding things to your resume, adding certifications, adding classes, and most of them you don't really have to pay for. There's so many free courses online in so many different areas, so make sure that you're continuing to beef up your resume and just learn, because learning is honestly really fun and it's gonna help you to continue to grow and figure out new things that you like. So make sure that you are still taking learning opportunities, because those can definitely beef up that resume. The last tip that I have is to make sure that you are looking at job descriptions of your dream job and figuring out how you can get the experience on that job description on your resume. For example, maybe you are looking at administration roles where you have to do some sort of scheduling or something along those lines. Look for lower level jobs that are going to give you some experience with scheduling and managing a group of people. It doesn't matter what that is, as long as you can pull that experience and put that on your resume. Maybe you even are volunteering and doing some sort of like volunteer scheduling and that kind of thing. Basically, just look at job descriptions and work backwards. Figure out what can I do to get the experience that I need to be able to apply for this job and have those things on my resume. I know that sounds kind of simple and like obvious, but I think that thinking of it that way can really make it a lot easier. It's almost like a checklist, like, oh, this job description says this, I need to check that off and get that on my resume. But I find that just a really helpful way to think about it. And then honestly, the last thing I want to say is do your best to just stay positive, stay grounded, stay centered, and just focus on today. I know it can be so overwhelming to feel like I need to get a really good job immediately, otherwise I'm a failure at life, and going to college basically was worthless and I went into all this student debt for literally no reason whatsoever. Believe me, I've been there, I get it. But just focus on today, focus on today. I am okay, I am doing everything that I can to move forward with my life, and let go of the idea that it has to look a certain way. Believe me, your career is not going to look the way that you thought it did when you got to college. It's not gonna look the way that you thought it would when you graduated, and it's not gonna look the way that you thought it would in 5 years. It's going to change, it's going to shift. You're gonna find out the things that you like and the things that you don't like. It's going to change so much, so stop trying to hold on to this perfect image of what your career is going to look like. Just let it go. Let it go, relax, it's okay. You will find a job that you enjoy, and then you'll find another job that you enjoy even more, and then maybe you'll get a job that you hate. Just, it's gonna change, but it's gonna be okay. Because right now, in this moment, you are okay. I know it's overwhelming, but it's all gonna work out in the end. So I hope that these tips were helpful for you guys. If you are interested in more tips on surviving post-grad life, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. I make videos about how to live a healthy lifestyle, about how to create a life that you love, about creating healthy habits in that life, and all of those types of things. So make sure that you are subscribed and like this video if you want more tips on job hunting and that kind of thing. And comment down below what major you graduated with or what field of work you're in, because not everyone goes to college, and that's obviously totally okay. I think some of you guys are smarter that didn't go to college than me, because I have student loans and you guys don't. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one.